Hi guys, and welcome to the channel. In this video we're going to be continuing our current project, which is the M6 gun motor carriage WC-55 by Italeri in 1/35 scale, and this will be the painting and chipping portion. So as you can see here, I have the vehicle broken down into easily, or more easily I should say, paintable sub-assemblies. So one of the things that I find very useful is to take some wooden dowel and using a pencil sharpener just to taper the end of it so that it will fit in the holes for the axles on our wheels, and that way they're much easier to paint. So next up we're going to paint the windshield with the clear part of the windshield in place, and so I don't want the paint to wick up underneath the masking tape around these windshield wipers. So I'm going to use this clear mask and just mask the corners of it so that the tape will have something to stick to and block the paint from flowing up underneath it. Now the back side of the windshield has some edges that need to be painted, as well as the center windshield support. So I'm going to have to mask that off, but in order for me to see where I need to cut the masking tape, we're going to make a light table out of this flashlight, and it's pretty easily done. We're just going to take the lens off of it and cut a circular piece of printer paper, just a white piece of paper, and put that inside our lens cover, and that is going to enable us to see exactly where we need to take our X-Acto knife and trim out the masking tape so that it'll be ready for painting. Next up, we're going to prepare our smaller parts here for painting. So I've taken some craft sticks and some double-sided mounting tape and affixed these parts. And with the others, I'm just using alligator clips. And now we are ready to paint. So now we're going to paint everything black, and that'll allow us to see if there's any problems with the surface of the model that needs to be either sanded out or filled. And with that accomplished, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to mask off the radiator because we want it to remain black. So now we're going to go in and we're going to do some pre-shading. I'm just going to be using this Vallejo white here, thinned appropriately for our airbrush, and I do use a little bit of flow medium to help the paint lay down. Now, I'm not very good with white, so it always seems to give me some problems. And as you can see here on the toolbox, there's a splotch there, but that's okay. That'll give us a little bit of variation, and you won't even notice it when the vehicle's painted. So next, we're going to paint the vehicle in the main color of OD green. I'm using Vallejo acrylic parched grass for this. And as you can see here, I've passed over it with the first coat. Now I'm going to build this up in 3 or 4 different passes in order to allow our pre-shading to show through. As you can see here, I still need to do a little bit more on the side panels of the bed. So now it's time to go ahead and dress up our black rubber on our tires. And so what I'm using here is the original black Vallejo that I sprayed the entire model with at the beginning. And since it's a airbrush mixture, it's going to flow a whole lot like the panel liner does, which makes it really easy to trim out around the rim. And that'll cover up this overspray for us. Now sometimes you may have to go back and put a second coat on it, but it goes really fast and it's really easy to do. So now that we've got our OD green on, we no longer need this mask on our radiator, and so we're going to go ahead and remove that. Okay, so what I've done here is I have gone over the seats with a lighter shade of the green, mixed just a little bit of white into it, and I've also done the same thing with the canvas rolls that are going to go on the right side running board. Here I'm just removing the masks that I put on the metal straps that hold these canvas rolls in place. Next up, we're going to do our chipping. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take our OD green, just a little bit, about 3 drops here, and we're going to take some black. Now all this is the Vallejo acrylics, and we're going to put a drop in there of the black. And then I'm going to come in also and add about the equal amount of this flow medium, which is an extender. And it'll also, it'll do a couple of things for us. It allows our paint to stay moist and not dry out on us. And it thins these acrylics down enough so that we get some nice smooth chipping effects. And so the first thing I got to do is load up my sponge. So I've cut myself a little piece of sponge here to do that with. And we're just going to load it up good. And then we're going to blot most of the paint out of the sponge. And then we're going to start applying these chips in logical areas on the model. Chipped corners of fenders and anywhere that the crew would be dragging chains or, you know, tools or whatever across the painted surface. And also you're going to have rock dings and debris thrown up from the wheels. So just concentrate on those kind of areas, but don't overdo the chipping. You're going to want to keep it reasonable and fairly light. The OD green paint that the Army used during World War II was very durable and very tough, so you don't want to really go in and do a lot of heavy chipping. But this will add interest to the vehicle. And you can see here, this is what I've come up with so far. Now I do have some chipping in the bed of the truck, but I'm going to go back and increase that. I think I have an idea on where in the bed of the truck, so we'll see how that works out for us. And as I said, you know, the wheels are going to kick stuff up, so do inside your fenders and the underside of the vehicle as well. Now when I start my chipping process, I like to lay out all the parts that need to have these chipping effects, like this gun shield here, and also the wheels. Make sure that you just kind of keep everything where you can see what it is that you need to work with. Otherwise you may end up just chipping your vehicle and come to find out later on that I didn't do the wheels. So So that looks pretty good, and we're going to be ready for our next step. So now we're going to take our tester's flat gunmetal enamel and we're going to paint the metal portions of our tools up. Now as you can see here, I don't have the shovel installed yet. I'm painting it up separately, mainly because when you put the shovel into this rack, it covers our pigmatic head here that I'm painting right now, and we want to be able to paint this without any interference. So now we're going to come in with this Model Masters acrylic wood. And I really like these Model Master paints. They're getting harder and harder to find, but they work really well. This wood color is going to be our base color for the handles on our tools. And so we're going to paint all the wooden parts with this acrylic wood. Now we actually have something missing here. Right here where I'm pointing, there should be a piece of metal that holds the end of our shovel. So we're going to make one out of this phone wire. I'm going to strip this insulation off and use the copper. So what we're looking at here is, once you strip the insulation off the wire is actually it's not going to be absolutely straight, but you can take your something flat, like I'm using these tweezers right now, and I'm just rolling it on my mat with these tweezers with a little bit of pressure, and that will just straighten that piece of wire out so it'll be ready to take whatever shape we want it to have. So I've bent the wire, but it's still a little bit long, so I'm going to trim that down just a little bit. And there we go, that's the shape we want. So now the only thing we have to do is paint it, and I'll use a little bit of CA glue and fix it into place. And I also did a little bit of dry brushing with the Tester's flat steel to show the wear marks on our tools. Now I'm going to take some Tester's flat steel enamel, and I like using these enamels because they blend really well. And what we need is some wear through marks. This is where the gun crew would be operating the 37mm anti-tank gun in the bed of the truck. In a desert environment, which is where we're going to place this vehicle in time. Being in the desert with sand, it tends to rub completely through the paint into the steel deck of the bed of the truck. And so that's what I'm trying to represent here. And this is kind of a twist on two-tone chipping. Also going to do it in the floorboards here for the driver and the passenger side. Now if you get the Tester's flat steel enamel too thick, you can use thinner and kind of thin it out and wipe it out a little bit. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. We're going to move on. Now our vehicle does have some taillights and some reflectors, and so we're going to paint those up using the Tamiya XF7 red. Time to use the Model Master acrylic rust here and paint up our exhaust. Now I'm not going to do my usual pigment and all that on this exhaust because we're going to be coming in with some desert dust tone pigments and dirty everything up on the bottom, but we do need a basic foundation of rust so that the color will come through our desert dust. I'm going to use this Tamiya XF56 metallic gray here to do the headlights. I don't really want the headlights chrome, you know, that probably be just a little bit too bright. Then I'd have to worry about toning it down when I go to weather it. So this metallic gray is going to work pretty good for this. And with our headlights painted, we can go ahead and put the front grille on. And so it's starting to come together for us. Next up, we're going to use this Model Master Chrome Silver here. And we're going to paint our mirror. And that's passable. We're going to move on. Next up is going to be the flat steel enamel. And I'm going to use it to highlight the wear marks that's going to be on the adjustment wheels for our main armament. So now I'm going to look at these sideboards here. They're supposed to be wood painted over, but we want to give it a look that says the wood has been out in the weather. So I'm going to use this XF49, which is Tamiya khaki, and we're going to put in some streaks, just kind of randomly, wood grainish kind of figure there. And we're also going to use this Model Master's acrylic wood and do the same thing. Give us a little bit of tonal difference. And that'll give us the appearance, hopefully, that the wood has dried out and the paint is chipped off of it. Now we're going to work on these seat cushions. I'm at a loss when it comes to canvas effects, so I'm trying something a little bit different this time. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this Tamiya Buff XF57 and we're going to come in on the cushions and put in some wear marks. Now wherever canvas is kind of bunched up and folded, they kind of get worn more, so that's the effect I'm trying to go for here. And now I'm going to use this Tamiya panel line accent color brown, and I'm going to put a wash on over the canvas. And I'm going to let that set up and dry real good. Now I'm going to use that same Tamiya panel liner brown and come in and go over the wooden portions of our pioneering tools here and just kind of give them a little bit of staining, a little bit of different look. So when we painted our vehicle, the fuel can was already mounted on it, and I want it to have a different look, so I'm going to use the Tamiya panel line accent color black and use it as a filter and come in and just paint over top of the fuel can. That way we've got some good color contrast. Now I've never used this before, so this will be a first for us here. This is Pledge Revive It Floor Gloss, and we're going to use it to give us a gloss finish on our model so we can apply our decals. And once the decals are dry, we will go back over it and seal the decals in with the Revive It. And with that done, it's time to use our panel liner. Now we're just going to use this to bring out the details such as rivets and bolt heads and seam lines and stuff that we want to kind of pop out. And this gives our model more depth. And it also creates, you know, those fake shadows. So it's probably one of the most important things that you can do. And you can use panel liner to also create a little bit of grime. So here I'm using a little bit of enamel thinner, dabbed off the brush. I just want it just slightly damp, and cleaning up the panel liner. So any unwanted marks, now's the time to do it. It's always a good idea to kind of walk away from the model and then come back later and get a fresh look at it to make sure that you've got all the little spots cleaned up. And so next we're going to do the same thing with that thinner. We're going back to the seats here, and we're just going to kind of rub in on the areas where the soldier would be sitting to clean those off. So here we have our canvas rolls, and we're going to use this Tester's thinner with a fairly dry brush. And what I've done is I've put to me a panel liner on here to try to accent the folds that are in the canvas, and I'm just going to go over it in a dry brush kind of method and start cleaning it up a little bit, with the hopes that we can come out with a little bit more realistic looking canvas. We'll just have to see how this works out for us. And so I do come back in with a larger brush, and I don't really want to blend out all the little recessed areas. I just want really on the tops, on the high points. So that's kind of what we got there, and it will get toned down some when we flat clear coat it, which is about what we're ready to do now. So on we go. Now it's time to take the Model Master acrylic flat clear and seal everything in. And that will do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. The next video coming up on this project will be the one where we finish weathering and the final reveal. So it's something to look forward to. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all my subscribers and the modeling community in general. It's a great community, and I'm glad to be a part of it. So thanks for watching, guys.